Hello everyone, today's story is Go For It, Ruby. Once upon a time, upon a nest beside a lake, there lived a family of ducks, a mother duck, a father duck, and 5 young ducklings. The smallest duckling was called Ruby, and while her brothers and sisters were always in a hurry, Ruby took things slowly in her own time. One afternoon, Ruby was exploring the edge of the lake when she spotted Errol, a young gosling, struggling amongst the reeds. "Fluffs and feathers!" cried Errol. "I'm stuck. Would you like some help?" asked Ruby. "Oh, yes, please," said Errol. Ruby carefully pulled back the stems and Errol wiggled free. "What are you doing?" asked Ruby. "I'm trying to get to the golden pool," said Errol. She'd heard stories of the golden pool. It was a mysterious place hidden somewhere near the lake. "Why do you think the pool is here?" whispered Ruby. "Because I've searched everywhere else," said Errol. "I just have to get through these reeds," grunted Errol, charging back into the stems. "Are you sure that's the best way?" Ruby asked. "What other way is there?" said Errol. "Sometimes," explained Ruby, "it's best to stop and think." Let me show you." Errol followed Ruby as she swam slowly through the winding reeds, looking carefully around her. "There," she said. "There's a fat fish swimming past us. He seems to know where he's going. Let's follow." Ruby and Errol followed the fish down the narrow waterways that twisted back and forth between the tall reeds. "Flies and frog spawn," cried Errol impatiently. "This isn't leading us anywhere." "It must lead somewhere," insisted Ruby. But just as Ruby was beginning to think Errol was right, wow, the waterway opened into a wide pool, roofed with blossoms. Slim shafts of sunlight cast beautiful patterns on the surface of the water. They had found it, the golden pool. "Beaks and bills!" cried Errol, darting out into the middle. "We found it! We found it!" Ruby followed him slowly and quietly. It was the most beautiful place she had ever seen. But then she spotted something odd. A scattering of blossoms fell upon the water, drifting quickly across the surface, then vanishing on the far side of the pool. What's happening there?" wondered Ruby. She swam over to take a closer look. Oh my gosh, by the time she saw that it was a waterfall, it was almost too late. "Stop!" cried Ruby as Errol darted past her. "It's a waterfall. If we get too close, we're going to be swept over the edge." But they were already too close, and the water was moving so fast that no matter how hard the 2 friends paddled, they could not get away. "What are we going to do?" cried Ruby. Just then a large branch floated past. "Quick!" cried Errol. "Hold on to it." Without thinking, Ruby followed Errol and grabbed onto the branch as it swept to the edge of the waterfall. At the last moment, the branch caught the bank, and Ruby and Errol scrambled to safety. "Sure, that was brilliant," gasped Ruby. "How did you know the branch would get caught on that like that?" "I didn't," said Errol. "I just hoped that it would." "Sometimes," said Errol, "it's best to stop and think, but sometimes you just have to go for it." The friends decided it was safer to walk back as far as they could. "Fluffs and feathers," said Ruby, when the bank eventually ran out. "It looked like we'll have to swim the last bit." Errol smiled. "Are you sure?" he said. "Sometimes it's best to stop and think." But Ruby had already jumped in and she was paddling home. Sometimes she called back to him, "You just have to go for it." The end.